And hello, everyone, and Happy New Year. If you can just confirm that the sound and the image are okay. Okay, super. Then let's start. Like every month, we are now going to do a small recapitulation of what happened in December. Of course, on what we're gonna work in January, but because it's also the first month of a new year, I will give you some highlights of let's say the long-term vision or the 2022 vision, which basically shapes everything that we are going to do this year. So of course, this will be at the end of this live. Let's start with the Treasury as usual. So as of now, if we account what we own, so the assets as well as our debt, we have in non-JRT token 770,000 USD. There is one thing that is worth to mention though, on the 150,000 USDC, 60,000 USDC are currently being supplied on the jPY liquidity pool, because we're gonna see this after in the governance part. But since last month, the protocol is also a liquidity provider on the protocol. Something else, of course, to mention is the evolution of our CVX, so convex line. We still have some CVX to buy according to the proposal that passed 2 months ago. But yeah, for now we have almost $140,000 worth of CVX. And actually today we have locked them into VLCVX. We will discuss this, of course, next month. The rest didn't move. We still have a lot of UMA, KNC that we have held. And that's pretty much it, actually. Okay, now about the ecosystem. So right now, the TVL is a bit below $9 million. So we can see here that there was a big drop a bit before the end of the year. So we're gonna discuss this after when we will speak about the on and off ramp, because of course it's mainly due to the off ramping. It was the end of the year. Also the APR on our liquidity mining programs have of course fallen. So it attracts less liquidity. So some people they withdrawn from the pool, other people they off ramp. But that's all what I can say. The only thing that you can notice here is that now we are tracking the TVL across 4 chains. Of course, for now, only Polygon and Ethereum are officially live, but pretty soon BSC and XDAI, but we should rename actually Gnosis chain, will be live officially as well. Okay, some numbers. When I did this presentation, the volume since we started on Polygon was $69 million. Today we are at 71 million. And most importantly, I think it's these 25,000 transactions and 7,000 unique users. I remember you that a unique user doesn't mean that it's a single user. It just means a single address. So an address, I mean, many addresses, of course, could be owned by a single user. Here you have the one on Ethereum that, of course, didn't evolve that much since we only focus on Polygon. But altogether, Polygon and Ethereum, we have 75,000 million of volume since we launched. About the router, so we have, let's say, went over the first $1 million volume threshold. So remember what the router is. It's a piece of contract that is routing Forex swaps with an AMM. So when you want to swap JEuro for Bitcoin, it goes through this router. What is interesting to notice is that the router is something that was very important for us at the beginning because it essentially connects our Forex liquidity with the rest of the on-chain liquidity. But since a few weeks now, we have a nice integration within Paraswap. So before, we already had our jFIAT on Paraswap. If you notice, actually, there was some volumes before December, but actually it was only through the Kyber pools that we have. So every time someone was using Paraswap to buy or sell JEuro, Swiss franc, and so on, the trade was actually routed on Kyber. Then, since a few weeks, Paraswap has integrated our smart contract, which means that Paraswap is now capable of minting and burning our jFIATs, and then to swap the USDC that has been redeemed for another token. So far we have a bit more than, close to $6.5 million of volume on Paraswap. So of course, Paraswap replaces totally our router, but not necessarily, because you have to understand one thing. Our router works entirely on chain, so it can be called by other smart contracts and by other protocol. Paraswap, of course, it's off-chain, the algorithm, so smart contracts couldn't call Paraswap. So Paraswap is more for users and robots, while our router is more for protocol and smart contracts. So even though it may seem redundant, it actually is not. 3.2 thousand users also have used this router for almost 7,000 transactions. Okay, then here we can see the evolution of the volume. So in December, our smart contracts processed $32 million of volume. You can see here the evolution, the number of transactions as well. On the curve, $9.2 million of jFIAT, so only the JEuro, have been exchanged. And on Kyber, $13 million of jFIAT. So altogether, for the month of December, we had 22 and 32, so almost $55 million of jFIAT that have been swapped. And actually, since we launched, we also surpassed the $100 million threshold of swaps across all the different exchanges for jFIAT, of course. A bit about a small overview of the ecosystem. So here you can see, if you want to see the details, of course, you can go to to our June Analytics dashboard. But here you can see, of course, quickly all the jFIATs that have been launched, their capitalization, and the collateral backing those ones. Available liquidity is the same thing. If you want to see all the details, I invite you to go to see our June Analytics. Worth to mention, so right now we have 1.2 million USD to be available to be minted for JEuro, 372,000 for the Swiss franc, and 500,000 for the GBP. And you can mint up to $200,000 for JOD, JSEC, and JPHP. The liquidity will increase, weeks after weeks. But for now, since the liquidity mining is focused on the JEuro, the Swiss franc, the JPY, and the JBBP, this is where most of the liquidity is available. An interesting metrics, of course, is the on and off ramp. So again, we went it went exponential. I don't know if you remember the curve of last month, but last month it was exactly the same. It was for here, and we were already in exponential, but last month was crazy. And this is where it's interesting to analyze a bit of the data and to understand also the evolution of the TVL. So first, what we can notice is that there were way more, not way more, but there was almost the same amount of off-ramp. So off-ramp is the first number than on-ramp. So still we processed $2 million of on-ramp in December, but we also had almost $2 million and $1.8 million of off-ramp. So if you check all the other months, so you can compare the blue with the orange. So blue stands for off-ramp. So as you see, it has always been a small amount of off-ramp for a big amount of on-ramp. But in December, it was very different. So a few things to mention here. So those 3 months are the months where we didn't have liquidity mining. Actually, we started the liquidity mining in the middle of this month. So what we can see here is that the first 2 months, of course, only the people in our Discord that were aware about our solution with Mon Pèlerin were utilizing the fiat on and off ramp. Then with the liquidity mining on Kyber and then a bit after on Curve, more people started to use the ramp, but it was mainly when we were checking the addresses that were purchasing JEuro and J-Swiss franc. It was always mainly to deposit to earn yield. So it's pretty cool, but it also means that we incentivize the usage of the fiat on and off ramp. And our goal, of course, is not this. We don't want people to use the fiat on and off ramp just to earn yield. The point is to use the fiat on and off ramp to get into the crypto ecosystem or to get out of the crypto ecosystem. Our partnership with Mon Pèlerin and all the other fiat on and off ramp we will work with is basically to allow people to have a seamless way to get from their bank accounts to any blockchain with any fiat currencies back and forth. So what I like with December is that maybe it's because, most likely it's because of Christmas and the end of the year, but it's the first time that we saw few addresses that were using the fiat on and off ramp just for the fiat on and off ramp. So you had addresses who purchased JEuro just in order to buy something else, so to buy Bitcoin or ETH or whatever. So this is pretty cool because it means that the fiat on and off ramp has been utilized exactly for what we want. And for the off ramp, of course, by many people, they cashed out before Christmas. What we can notice is one particular transaction of 1.2 million euros. So it's someone who was not using the protocol before. They bought for the first time JEuros, but they only bought them in order to do a cash out. So this, again, pretty happy to see this activity. Hopefully it will be the same across the rest of the year. Of course, we'll still have people who will use the on and off ramp, especially the on ramp to earn yield. But again, what we want is to be, a getaway, a bridge between those two worlds. But we'll discuss about this, those KPIs a bit, after I finish this slide. Okay, so if you have any question about those metrics, thanks, Tao. I actually had a better accent before, but I'm losing it, and the French accent is going back now. Okay, so now let's see what we have done in December. So of course, December with the holidays and so on, it was not the most productive. So I copy-pasted the French one, so sorry it will be in French, the text. So it was not the most productive one, but yet we did few cool stuff. So first, we worked on adding meta transactions to both the liquidity pools and the self-minting V2. So for the one who are not aware about what is a meta transaction, it's basically a way for another address to pay the gas on your behalf. So it's pretty useful because imagine you are using the fiat on and off ramp of Mon Pèlerin and you just buy JEuro. But unfortunately, you do not have Matic to pay the gas. So this is a very bad user experience because let's say you are a beginner, you will need to purchase Matic through Mon Pèlerin or to ask someone to send it to you. So basically, the first experience that you may have will be a disaster. But with meta transaction, you don't need gas. You don't need Matic, sorry. So what will happen is that when someone buys a JEuro and they receive it, they will just say, okay, now I want to send JEuro or I want to swap JEuro for USDC, for example. So what will happen? You will actually you will sign a message with your private key. So you just sign. This signed message goes to a relayer. And the relayer is basically a server with a private key. And the relayer will broadcast the transaction for you on the blockchain. And we say, okay, this address would like to move this amount of JEuro to this other address. I will pay for the gas. So we have added this to all our contracts on the V2. And then we have, of course, deployed them on the BSC and on the Gnosis chain. So it's important to understand that we are deployed there. There are already few, but very few jFIATs which have been minted, but we are not officially live because we are waiting for two things. So the first thing is, of course, a user interface, which will allow people to mint and burn jFIATs without going to BSC scan. this, we are working on it. And why we can't use the UI that we had before? Because the UI that we have on Polygon or Ethereum is a UI which have been built for the protocol V1. So it's not compatible with the V2. It's not the same function. We don't retrieve the same data. So basically, we have to redo it almost from scratch. So this is not a big word, but we are working on it now. And then the second most important thing is Chainlink. So Chainlink, as you know, we are using them for our price feed, but unfortunately, they are quite overwhelmed by work right now. I mean, let's say they are under the water like many projects. They don't keep up. They can't keep up for now with all the demand. They have a lot of integrations in the pipeline, many new blockchains and so on. And so it was harder for them to deploy new price feed in a timely manner. So, for example, we have requested that on BSC we have the real from Brazil and also on Polygon and some new jFIATs. So they couldn't do it. And also on this chain there is only the Swiss franc. So right now we are waiting for Chainlink to be able to deploy Euro, at least Euro on XDAI, because on XDAI for now we will mainly focus on Euro and Swiss franc. And for the BSC we are waiting for the real Brazilian. And also something else, we are waiting for them to lower the threshold. So what is the threshold? So as you may know, Chainlink doesn't put the price in real time on the blockchain. They just are pushing the price at a certain time, and this time is according to the price movement of the underlying market. So for euro dollar, every time on Polygon, every time the euro dollar moves by at least 0.1%, then Chainlink will update the price. So basically, you have a price update every time the price moves by plus or minus 0.1%. On Polygon, there is also something else called heartbeat. I mean, it's everywhere, but the heartbeat is 27 seconds, which means that if there was no update after 27 seconds, Chainlink is anyway updating the price. So on Polygon transaction, I mean, the gas is pretty cheap, so it allows Chainlink to perform those kind of things. On BSC and on other blockchain like Ethereum, it's of course not scalable. They can't update this every 27 seconds. So they update the price either every time it moves by 0.x% or every hour or every 24 hours. The problem is that on BSC, the euro dollar, the price is updated every time it moves by 0.2%. So this is okay. But on Swiss franc and Naira, so Naira, the Nigerian currency, it's 0.3%, which is quite a lot. And for Naira is not very important because if you open an NGN USD, how to say, chart, you will see that, chart almost doesn't move. And for the GBP, it is 0.5%. So the problem is that in order to avoid front running, we have to match our minting and burning fees with the Chainlink threshold. So for GBP on BSC, we will be obliged to have a fee of 0.5% to mint and to burn. So altogether, you will pay 1% every time you do a complete tour, mint and burn. And of course, it's not what we want. We would like to have very cheap fees. So we're also waiting there for Chainlink to lower them. So when we have the UI and when we have lower threshold from Chainlink, then we can officially launch on BSC and on Gnosis chain. Last month, we also launched the AG5 Euro pool, which is done in partnership with Angle. So the idea of the pool was to help the AJ Euro, which is a stablecoin issued on Ethereum by the Angle protocol, to have a good peg and enough liquidity on chain. Right now, they have a pool on a normal AMM against USDC, but as you know, it's not very efficient. The peg is not perfect, which makes the AJ Euro less usable on Polygon. So the idea is to basically help them to reach peg and to reach their peg liquidity. And for that, we decided to do an experiment that most likely we won't reproduce. We decided to create a pool with their euro, so AJ Euro. And instead of using the J Euro, we decided to use the 4 euro token. The 4 euro token being the token representing the J Euro par EURT and EURs. And the problem is that it makes arbitrage very complicated because you need to make many transactions. Unfortunately, Paraswap couldn't add those pools right now, so you have to do many manual transactions. And also because the 4 euro pool has some imbalance, it makes arbitrage more complicated. So I think we need to launch a new pool, but only with EUR and JPY in order to facilitate arbitrage on Polygon. Then we have launched new stable coins. So we have launched Colombian Pesa, the Krona from Sweden, the Japanese yen, of course, and the Australian dollar, and we have listed them on JRX Exchange. We have also deployed the 2 JPY pool on Curve. So this pool is a pool with JPY as well as JPYC, which is a bit like USDC. It's fiat-backed Japanese yen on Polygon and News Exchange. And so far, the pool has reached $1 million of liquidity, which was our target. So we're pretty happy. They're also pretty happy. And we will, of course, launch more pools like that in the future. We have also updated our June analytics. So now there are more metrics that you can follow. So for example, you can now check what is the volume of transfer. So transfer are different from swaps. Swaps is when, of course, you mint or you burn or you exchange on a Kyber or Curve jFIAT. Transfer is when two addresses are just sending to each other jFIAT. So if you move your jFIAT from one wallet to another one, it is considered as a transfer. We wanted to track this data to see if the money flows basically in the ecosystem and which addresses are sending, receiving, and so on. We also are tracking now the number of addresses who have held in the past and who are currently holding jFIATs. So far we had 10,000 different addresses which at some point in their life has held jFIAT, and right now we have 3,000 people holding jFIATs. We have done a lot of marketing. I think you have seen it in the price of GRT. Most of the marketing was focused on in France. Actually, I'm in French-speaking country. So first, we partner with a group called the Diggers, who are basically a group of 10, 15,000 people on Discord and Twitter. And their job is to dig projects, to dig NFT, and to try to extract alpha for their members. It was the first time for them that they were studying a DeFi project. And we will keep working with them, of course, in the future. The idea is to educate this community to our protocol, our fiat on ramp, and to gain, of course, a lot of new users, because those users are not necessarily DeFi people, so maybe they won't be interested into swaps or yield. What they want is on and off ramp most of the time. Then we did an interview with a crypto channel called Grand Angle, so Big Angle Crypto. We had also an event with DeFi France, and we, since few days, we are doing a contest with Montpellerin in order to celebrate two things. First, we processed $6 million of on and off ramp since July on Montpellerin, and with this partnership, I guess Montpellerin earned some visibility and popularity, and the number of downloads of their application went to 30,000 downloads. So to celebrate this, we are doing a contest. This contest on Twitter helped us to grow our number of followers by 500 already, just for 1 week. So it's pretty cool. We also have done a contest with Polygon. Polygon has organized a contest to help their community to discover some project on Polygon, and we're part of the contest. So people were supposed to buy or sell jFIAT in our exchange, and by doing that, they were able to earn some, let's say, some rewards provided by Polygon itself. So it was in Matic, Jarvis. So we gave some GRT, and our partner Harvest in form of farm. So last month, as I said, we have the integration with Paraswap, which is leveling up the jFIATs on-chain liquidity by a lot. We actually made few comparisons. The idea was to say, okay, if you integrate something like Jarvis into an aggregator like Paraswap, what should happen? So remember that the JEUR can be converted for USDC without perdition of value. So no slippage, no price impact. And then by using Paraswap is like aggregating the entire on-chain liquidity. So instead of having 10 different AMMs, you actually have one AMM through Paraswap. And so you have better price execution, meaning that if you consider that 1 JEUR is equal to €1, which is true, because as you know, you can buy 1 JEUR with €1 using Montpellerin, and vice versa. You can sell 1 JEUR for €1. So basically, JEUR equal euro in terms of value. So it means that you can compare the Mont Pelerin fits Paraswap solution, and of course Jarvis, with Coinbase, because Coinbase, they have a Euro, Bitcoin, or a Euromatic market. You can also compare it with Kraken, with Binance, with FTX, or with an exchange, a centralized exchange aggregator like Swissborg. So we did some comparison, we executed some transaction, and what was funny to notice is that the combination between Mont Pelerin, Jarvis, and Paraswap beats them all until a certain amount of volume, of course. After 50K or 100K dollar of volume, centralized exchanges are still ahead, but not that much. So this is insane. It means that DeFi liquidity and DeFi project are starting to basically eat the part of the cake of centralized exchange. And this is important, and we're going to discuss about it when we speak about the focus of 2022. So that's all. You can do the test yourself, of course, by buying jEUR on Mont Pelerin and then swapping them on Paraswap. And you can compare it with, for example, how much ETH or how much Matic you got compared to how much ETH or Matic you will have bought on Binance, for example, or on Coinbase. That one important thing as well is that on Coinbase or Binance, you cannot buy everything. First, you don't have Forex, so you can't really exchange Euro for another, like Swiss franc. But also, you can't buy the top 1,000. You can't buy the entire CoinGecko list. You only can buy the tokens that are listed, of course, on those exchanges. And you can also only buy them by using the market that are live. So, for example, if you have Bitcoin, you can't buy. If you have KNC, for example, you can't buy Matic. You have first to do KNC Bitcoin, Matic, or ETH or whatever. So in terms of experience, also you have more pairs and more possibility now thanks to Paraswap. So some tweets for the last month. So the last day of the year, we celebrated the $100 million worth of swaps that happened. So it was exactly the last day of the year. So it's pretty cool. We also have published a series of 4 articles which are related to our PEG and liquidity as a service program. I invite all of you to read them all and to understand them, because it's very important to understand where we stand. But again, we're going to speak about it after for our 2022 strategy. So this is the interview I was speaking about. We also did a poll to know what the community, at least on Twitter, would like to see us launching this year. So I'm happy that JGold won, because honestly, I wanted the JGold to win. And the idea was to say, okay, usually we only do fiat. For us, it's risky, and we don't see a big market for doing something else. But let's make something cool, and let's try to see what we could do. So gold won over wheat. That doesn't mean we won't do the jWIT. I think jWIT will be very funny to do. I think in terms of marketing and PR, it will be also very beneficial for us. But let's do it maybe way later this year. So why gold, synthetic gold, is important? So first, because it's a J asset. So like every other J asset, like jFIAT, you can convert JGold for jEuro or for USDC or for J whatever you want at the chainlink price feed. Again, no slippage and so on and so on. So it means that JGold de facto has a fiat on and off ramp the day we're going to launch it. If we launch it on tomorrow on Polygon, and if you want to buy synthetic gold with euros, you can send euros to Mont Pelerin, receive jEuros, and convert the jEuros for JGold. And that's all. If now you want a real gold, how you will do? So the cool thing is that there are many projects who are doing tokenized gold. So you have like USDC, who is holding a USD in a bank account. Here you have people holding real gold in a vault, and on the top of it, they are just minting a tokenized gold. So if we do a pool on Curve with JGold, then for example, Cash is one of those projects who is doing tokenized gold. So you will be able to swap your JGold for Cash, and Cash, then you go to their website, you pass a KYC, and if you want, you can receive real gold at your place. So you pass a KYC, you give your address, you send them the cash, and you receive gold. So it's pretty cool, because it means that, again, you can go from euro to JGold if you want. and then you stay in the blockchain. And then if you want to cash out in gold instead of cashing out in euros, then you can do it. So this is why JGold was very cool. I mean, why it had to win, and why I'm happy that it won. And this year we're gonna launch it. I still don't know when exactly, but when you're gonna launch it, it will be very cool, and it will be a premiere that you can actually cash out a synthetic or even euro. If you want to cash out euro in real gold, you will be able to do it. You will do JEuro, JGold, and real gold. Okay, then over metrics. So in December, we also overpassed the symbolic, $50 million of swaps on our primary market. We also have done the first transaction executed through our community-owned multi-signature wallet. So since a few weeks now, the entire treasury of the protocol is held in a few multi-sigs. So we have one on Polygon, one on Ethereum. And this was the first ever transaction that was executed. It was to compensate people for their proposal. If you make a proposal, if you want to work for the DAO, if you want to make a bit of money, if you want to bring value to Jarvis, you can actually write a proposal. And if the proposal makes sense, and if it brings value to Jarvis, for example, it could be to create a new partnership with another stablecoin project, and then you execute this proposal, which means that you manage it, you take care of it from A to Z. Then, and if this proposal brings value, so fees and volume and new, more holders and so on, then you can get paid from 1 to 3K in JEuro or USDC or GRT, of course, if you want. So this was the first time it happened. We're also listed on DBank, and of course we had the JEuro and JNERA deployment on BSC. Okay, so before speaking about the governance, I'm just checking if there are some questions. So, but this feature will be part of Montpellier. So, Alexandre, I assume you speak about the JGold. So, it won't be part of Montpellier, but I will actually try to speak with them if they could directly onboard people with euro to buy JGold. But the best for me will be if you buy euro or Swiss franc or Canadian dollar with Montpellier, and then you go to our exchange or Paraswap and you convert this to JGold. Or if back then, if in the future Paraswap would list the curve pool we will do with JGold, basically you will just go from JEuro to cash, for example. So you won't know that you actually have bought a JGold. JGold will be hidden, the transaction will be hidden, and then you can go to the KYC and redeem for real gold. So it won't be part of Montpellier per se, but we will use Montpellier infrastructure to do this. So where to swap DEN token? So DEN token is listed against the token for euro. So what you have to do, you have to go to the Yield application, or you have to go to our documentation. So learn.jarvis.com .network, sorry, and you check the category yield farming, and you check all the information about the DEN program. And then here you have all the information, the address of the token, against which you can sell it, because the DEN is only listed against 4 euro token. So you need to pass a 4 euro address to Kyber, and then you sell the DEN for 4 euro. And then some pro tips. So if you want to make more money, so you sell them for 4 euro, and then you go on Curve and you withdraw only the token which is in the biggest proportion. So I think right now it's euro T. So you withdraw euro T, then you sell your euro T for USDC, and this is how you can optimize a bit. Maybe you will win 0.1, 0.2, 0.3% more, but it's better than nothing. So onboarding with Montpellier works fine, but KYC on the phone is not easy for all people. It's true, they have incredible infrastructure, they have an incredible team, but they don't have an incredible user experience. But the cool thing is that it's harder to build the infrastructure than the user experience. So they have constantly focused and shipped on the banking side, partnership side also, working with other banks and so on and so on. But they lack for now on having a sleek UI and UX. But again, this is easy to solve. So in the future, they will address those issues. And also, quite soon, there will be a web widget. So you won't need to download the application, and there won't be also KYC in the web widget. So, no more excuses. Okay, I didn't know about D-Force. I know they have the DUSD, I think, no, or D-Euro. The meta transaction, okay. But many projects have meta transaction. USDC have meta transaction. DAI has meta transaction. So yeah, it's very useful. Okay, so let's move on with governance. So first, what are the discussions which are currently being held in our Discord? So we have 3 discussions which have been paused first. So this one is interesting. It has been paused because it's a bit too early. So the idea here, it's a member of the committee who would like to create a balancer pool with all the jFIATs. What we suggested is to wait to have the CNY, which is the Chinese yuan, because it's the only currency missing in order to create what it's called the SDR. I don't know if you have heard about it. SDR is basically a basket of multiple currencies. If I'm not mistaken, there is a euro, dollar, Japanese yen, Chinese yuan. I guess there is the British pound, and maybe there is another one, maybe Swiss franc. Honestly, I don't remember all of them, but the idea is to create a currency which is a bit more stable than all the other currency. And it's like also like international currency. So only on Balancer we could create such a pool, but we are missing the CNY. So the idea is to wait to have the CNY to launch cool ETF. So which means that after that we can also launch new products. We can launch Euro, Swiss franc, GBP balancer pool, or it can be a JPY SGD for the Southeast Asia part balancer pool. So yeah, this is just paused, but I guess in 2022 it will be very cool to work with balancer to do some kind of forex ETF. The boost on VC also was paused because for now it doesn't make sense to overpay on the top of the €4 pool. The idea here was to basically to add more reward to the €4 pool. And then the stacking rewards, of course, was stopped because we have to wait the V2 for that. I mean, new token economics. Then about the discussion. So actually today, the discussion number 22 became a proposal, and there is a vote now ongoing. And there is here a new one, proposal number 38, which also is getting, I mean, the vote will start soon. So then we have other propositions. So we have the P30. So Polygon, they contacted us to know if we wanted to be part, if we wanted to sit at the Polygon DAO. But for that, we need to pledge at least $50,000 of Matic. So we need to buy $50,000 of Matic. Then we need to basically pledge them in the DAO. And all the projects doing this, basically, they put in common the Matic that they have bought, and then we use those Matics to basically to distribute grants. So if a project wants a grant on Polygon, it will go through this DAO, and we can say yes, no, and so on and so on. So discussion is ongoing if it makes sense for us to participate right now. We don't need to say yes now. It can be yes in 2-3 months, because it's every 3 months that there will be basically a new wave of pledge. The P25 is interesting, even though it is already part of a few other propositions. The idea is that the protocol should own the liquidity of the protocol as much as possible. So it's the famous protocol on liquidity, but here we do not speak about the liquidity of GRT. We speak about the GRT in Ethereum. So we have already executed a few things like that. For example, in the P33 proposal, which inaugures a new partnership with Randall.fi. I will speak about it after. We have already, we have already voted that the DAO will bring, I think it was $50,000 or $60,000 of liquidity. And it was also the case for the JPY proposal. Anyway, those are the discussions. And of course, the last one is the on and off ramp budget. So we spent all the budget that we had last year for the on and off ramp with Montpellerin, and now we need to renew this budget. For the ones who were not here last year, most of the fees are paid by the DAO. We had a liquidity mining program last year where people were depositing their stable coins into Aave and redirecting the interest to the governance Treasury. And the money, we collected 40K like that. And this money was used to basically pay the fees of Montpellerin. So now we need to renew it, and there is ongoing discussion on the Discord. about the proposal that was voted on in December. So first, there was a renewal of the Orois program. So this is a Forex program on Kyber. It was, yes, with $110 worth of, how to say, of rewards deposited in the storage contract. Then there was this proposal, audited tokens. So the idea was we shouldn't pay liquidity mining for unaudited tokens like USDT or EURT. So the vote was yes. Then we had the vote about the compensation. So it's what I explained you before. If you want to work for the DAO, if you make a very cool proposal, and if it's a lot of work and you bring a lot of value, then you can get paid for that. So this was approved, and the free first payment were done. Then twists, after we have voted on blacklisting non-audited token, someone submitted a vote to whitelist at least EURT. And the government said yes, because if we didn't list EURT, we couldn't launch a new farming program using EURT as a token. Then we had the vote on the AJ Euro for Euro pool with Mimo as well. So here we have invested 50,000 more of rewards, so $25,000 of UMA. And then we had the vote for the jFIATs, which was also yes. And here we have invested $21,000 of UMA and $60,000 of GRT in order to finance this program. It's a success, this program for now. We had a target of $1 million of liquidity. Now, why so small? Because it's a first step. It was the first program. Of course, the program has to be renewed and the reward should increase in order to reach at least $3 million of liquidity, which will help us then to have a curve, a gauge on curve and maybe to receive CRV. So I will speak about this pool after. And then, of course, a new partnership, Handle.fi. So who is Handle? Handle is basically exactly like Maker or Mimo, but for shit tons of currency. So they are doing Australian dollar, Philippine peso, euro, Swiss franc, and so on and so on and so on. So the idea is simple. If you want to borrow money, you should do it through Handle. If you want to borrow Australian dollar, you can do it through Handle. You deposit your collateral, and then you over-collateralize basically a loan. So you self-mint exactly like you would have done it using DAI or other stable coins working this way. And like Mimo, Handle, they have one issue. So it's very cool when it comes to borrowing, but then what do you do with what you have borrowed? Because if the Australian dollar that you have borrowed doesn't have a lot of liquidity or doesn't have a nice peg, then it limits the use case. So they need us and we need them. So it's a very nice synergy, I think, because basically the idea is that when someone borrows FX owed, which is basically their Australian dollar, if they want to access liquidity, they will go through our pool on Curve with our JOD, and they will just swap the FX owed for JOD. If the pool is correctly balanced, of course, the slippage, there won't be a lot of slippage, and people will be able to access on-chain liquidity. The cool thing is that most likely the pool will be imbalanced, at least at the beginning, and most likely JOD will be the token which will be the most represented, because it's easier to buy JOD than it is to have FX owed, because FX owed, you need to lock your collateral somewhere. And so the idea is that if you want to have leverage, you can, if there is an imbalance, you can borrow and handle. And because of the imbalance, you can actually make nice profits by using an arbitrage, because if you borrow 1,000 Australian dollar, maybe you can get 1,010 J Australian dollar. So you will make already 1% of profit if there is an imbalance, or 0.5%, depending, of course, on the positive slippage. So pretty cool to see this. Now we are waiting for them to be ready with the integration in their UI of our staking contract. As soon as they are ready, we will launch it, and we will finally have our friends in Australia a convenient way for them to earn yield. We will just need a fiat on our front, but Handle, they have one in Australia for their FX out. Then what we are going to work this month? So what is the task list? So as usual, we work on the multi-LP. We still have a bit of work there. Last year we had done 50% of the work. So let's say right now there is 45% left to be done. The yield on the collateral, of course, so in order to deploy the USDC on Aave to earn yield. We work, of course, on the Jarvis exchange on BSC and Gnosis chain and always on Jarvis V2. And also, we would like this month to deploy another chain. It doesn't mean that we'll do it. It just means that it's part of our list of tasks for this month. And we would really like to go on Phantom for one reason, is that on Phantom you have already Mimo with the PAR. And also there is the IB assets of Andre. So I guess Andre will bring his fixed forex to Phantom if it's not already done. I didn't follow. And I think we can do nice partnership there by doing basically a pull on curve using their assets. So that's all for this first part. So before going to the 2022, let's say, vision, I will just check if there is another question. Yes, as a matter of fact, Vince, I had very positive responses from Africa. I guess I can't say what we did because nothing is official, but we spoke with many people. We spoke with people in let's say big exchanges, very present in Africa, and of course they liked the idea of having synthetic naira and synthetic franc, CFA franc. So yeah, the response was very positive. Most of them, of course, they are waiting for our BSC official launch because most of Africa is actually using BSC over Polygon. For which country? Most of the country from the CIMAC and WEMWA region. And the very first pool that we will push on BSC will be the Naira pool. So now we just need to find something like curve on BSC. So there is Ellipsis, of course. There is Dodo, there is Kyber. So we'll see which exchange can welcome us. I know that Ellipsis is working on factory pools like Curve, so hopefully we could go there. But if not, there is also Dodo who is doing pools for stablecoins, and of course you have Kyber with who we already work on Polygon. So yeah, the point will be to have NGNT, which is another Naira done by a Nigerian team, paired with our JNGN, which is already deployed on BSC. And to allow basically people to swap between the two currencies and earn yield in NGN and so on. So now we don't have a precise roadmap, William. First, because you have to remain flexible. So of course we can say a roadmap now, but most likely we won't respect it after a month because new things will have happened or this kind of thing. What I can tell you is that we go where we feel that we are needed or where we can answer to a need, a void, like to fill a void. So for example, Phantom, why it's important? Because there is Andre, now there is his new AMM also, if you have followed. So the Phantom ecosystem for me will keep skyrocketing. And also we have our friends, Mimo, who are there. So again, Mimo is a fantastic project in order to borrow euro, and we provide liquidity in euro. So it makes sense to work with them there. So this is what shapes the roadmap for Phantom. For Arbitrum is because we want to work with GMX in order to have leverage on various, basically Forex with leverage. That's all. On ZK Sync, it's because we would like to work with Argent. So as you see, it depends on who is where and where it makes the most sense for us to be. So it changes very, very often. For the new token economics, we don't give date, of course. We never give date. The idea is that it should be this month. I wanted to wait to see what Andre will do because he's been speaking for a few weeks now that he will propose a new design for V model. And because our new token economics is heavily inspired by the V model, I wanted to see what he was doing before to announce it. So now it is announced. I'm checking if we should change some stuff on the token economics in order to, to see if what he proposed can be done with us. There are some good ideas. And then when it will be done, we will do a post on the governance and process with a vote, and voila. Okay, so let's move with the last part of this live. So this is not a roadmap. This is just 4 points which will shape everything that we will do this year. So basically, every time you will see us doing something, shipping something, making a partnership with someone, it is always because of one of those 4 points, of course. So let's start with the first one, which is for me one of the most important. So Jarvis and jFIATs, you can see them in 2 different ways. So one way is user-facing application, which means that we try to acquire new users. We want user to use jEuro. We want user to see jEuro. We want them to know us. So basically, it's branding and this kind of thing. So this is mainly through many integrations, and also maybe at some point our own wallet. But then you have what we could call backend. So backend is maybe people will use Jarvis, but they will never heard about Jarvis, they will never see Jarvis, and they will never know that actually there was something else under the hood to process their order. And this is the PLAS. So of course, you know that in order to provide the peg and liquidity as a service system, you need to deposit jFIAT in Curve. So you as a power user, yes, you know it. But the point of the PLAS is actually to help other projects with their peg or the fiat on off ramp or their infrastructure and so on. And actually, we can be hidden. So I can give you one example. A few examples, of course, but the first one is the fiat on and off ramp. So right now, we have a pool on Curve with Japanese yen. So it's called the 2JPY pool, and it is with 2 tokens, JPYC and JPY. I don't remember how to write. The cool thing is that the pool right now is imbalanced, which means that there is, for example, 30% of JPYC and 70% of JPY. So when I say it's cool, it's not cool actually. It's cool and not cool at the same time. It's not cool because of this imbalance, arbitraries, they can't do their job properly. Why? Because most of the time what we need to do is actually to buy JPY on Jarvis Exchange, to sell the JPY on Curve in order to buy JPYC, and then to sell the JPYC on an AMM. Why? Because most of the time, the price of JPYC is above the real market price of Japanese yen. And the problem is that when you do this on Curve now, you don't make money, because if you sell the biggest assets to buy the weakest, let's say, assets, then you pay negative slippage, and the negative slippage can prevent you to make a profitable arbitrage. So it's pretty bad for now because no arbitrage can happen, and it doesn't help with the peg or the liquidity of JPYC. There is only one way to fix this situation, is a fiat on an off-ramp. So what is happening is, if you are now in Japan, or if you know someone who lives in Japan, and this is also, I told you, all the roadmap is shaped about that. So for example, one of the first things we are going to do very soon is to start a marketing campaign in Japan with influencers and so on and so on. So the idea is to tell to Japanese people, if you want to buy a crypto on Polygon, the best and the cheapest and actually the most efficient way is actually to combine JPYC with Jarvis. So if you have, for example, $1,000 worth of Japanese yen, you can exchange them at a 1:1 ratio. There is no fee with the company JPYC. And right now, I think there is no KYC. Soon they will implement one, but right now there is no KYC. So 1,000 Japanese yen can become 1,000 JPYC. The jPYC are directly sent to your Polygon address. Then, because of the imbalance, you can swap the $1,000 of jPYC for JPY. And because of the imbalance, you will receive more JPY. Because Curve basically awards you because you try to correct this imbalance. Because maybe thanks to you, now there will be, I don't know, 35% of JPYC and only, and 65% on the JPY. Because you are bringing JPYC by selling JPYC in the pool, and you are removing JPY by buying them. And it's pretty cool because your $1,000 are suddenly becoming $1,000 and maybe $10 or $1,007, whatever. So of course, it's not a huge profit. You didn't make 10% in one trade, but you just made 0.5 or 0.7% more. And you didn't pay any fees. So basically, it's the first fiat and on-off-ramp who pays you in order to use them. Usually it's the opposite. Usually you pay up to 1%, sometimes even more. Here it's the opposite. You are being paid to on-ramp into crypto. And what's even cooler is that if you want after, let's say, to buy Bitcoin, but it means that you will buy Bitcoin with $1,010, not with $1,000. So you will buy more Bitcoin than if you were using a traditional exchange. So this kind of route has to be advertised in Japan, people need to know it. People who are, of course, interested in Polygon, because this is the thing, not everyone will wants to go on Polygon in Japan. So we have to narrow our effort to target Japanese people into DeFi who wants few things. They want to earn yield on Japanese yen, or they just want to use the most efficient fiat on ramp. So I think you understood the point of why imbalance are not that bad. And now imagine if you multiply this to many currencies. So this is one of the focus this year. It's to launch many new pool using the PLAS program in order to facilitate more fiat on and off ramp. And of course, the cool thing is that if those fiat on and off ramp are very used, the balance will be restored. And if you have 50-50 or even 40-60, then arbitrage can happen again. And arbitrage will create an imbalance, which will be corrected by fiat on ramp. And then it will create arbitrages, which will create an imbalance, and so on, and so on, and so on. So expect to see more pools, and to circle back to what I was saying before with the DAO, if you know a project who is a fiat-backed stablecoins project for specific currencies that we do not cover, or if you know a project where they do CDP-like stablecoins, so for example, like Handle or Mimo. So basically, when you can borrow euro or you can borrow GPP or whatever, then what could be good for you is to try to create a synergy between us and them. And then you discuss with the project, you create a proposal, you execute the proposal, and if everything goes smoothly and it creates value, then you are getting paid for that. So everybody can participate and get paid in the DAO in order, to make value. So all of this is basically infrastructure. Why? Because maybe at one point, there is a company in Japan who will see this and will say, wait, if I open an account with jPYC myself, and if I go to people and I said, hey, look, me, I'm a broker, and I can exchange your JPY, your Japanese yen, for any token you want on Polygon. You will, what will happen? You will give them, for example, $1,000 worth of Japanese yen. They will take you a fee, maybe I don't know, 0.5% or 0.2%, whatever. And then what they will do, they will exchange those Japanese yen for JPYC. They will use the imbalance in the pool, and then they will buy a token that they will send it to you. And this is why I said backend, because in that regard, so basically it's a broker. Huh? So those pools allows to create a lot of brokers business. So if you are in some of us in those countries where we will be, where there will be a fiat, fiat-backed stablecoins paired with our jFIAT on Curve, you know that there is a business opportunity there where you take, of course, for the KYC and AML, but then you make money everywhere. You make money by charging a fee here, because of course you charge a fee on the exchange, and you make money by keeping for you the premium. Because again, you tell the user, okay, $1,000 of Japanese yen, I will give you $1,000 of Bitcoin minus my fee of 0.2%. but in reality, you will win 0.2% of fee plus the premium, and this is how you can make money. And this, we have few projects, brokers most of the time, contacted us in order to help them working on that. So of course, right now, and I will go to the next point, we need scalability in order to scale this to the world. And so how are we going to scale Jarvis? So this is the second point. So let me erase this. So scaling Jarvis, when we mean scaling Jarvis, we mean how we can have more liquidity in order to have a bigger TVL and more volume and so on, because we are now restricted in our TVL by the liquidity that we have provided, because for now there is only one liquidity provider. So there are a few things that we can do. The first thing is, of course, the multi-LP. So multi-LP, what is it? It's basically a change of our protocol, which allows multiple addresses to become a liquidity provider. The thing is, it won't be easy to become a liquidity provider on Jarvis if you don't have a lot of money. If you have just, for example, 1,000, 10,000, maybe even 100,000 USDC, it won't be very interesting to become yourself an LP. So the cool thing with the multi-LP is that you can actually become an LP with other people. So you will see when we'll introduce the new protocol, but there will be many different pools that you will be able to join. So either you will be the sole LP, but this is mainly if you have like really a lot of money, or you will just join forces with other people, or you will also be able to help the DAO to become LP and so on. I mean, you will see. So the first thing is multi-LP, and we'll work on it. The multi-LP will allow, as I said, multiple liquidity providers. So the second thing is to have the protocol on liquidity. So what does it mean? It means that one of the liquidity provider in the multi-LP, so one of the address will actually be the DAO. So why this is important and interesting? So because the DAO has a few things. First, it has token, GRT, which means that the DAO can raise funds. So the DAO can decide to actually sell some of their tokens in order to receive USDC. And those USDC will be used to provide liquidity on the protocol. We can also you raise funds using, for example, bonds like Olympus. So for example, we could have a bond with Olympus where you sell GRT at a 5% discount, which is locked like for a few days or weeks in exchange of USDC. Doesn't matter how we're going to do it. For me, the two ways to do it is by raising funds using success token of UMA and by using Olympus. Then, because we will be liquidity providers, the DAO will actually generate money. So, of course, the money that is earned will be in USDC. And since it's the money of the DAO, then we need to vote on what we do with the USDC. So we can buy back GRT, we can just reinvest it in the protocol on liquidity. I mean, whatever we'll decide, we'll take the good decision, I trust. Yeah, the point is that it also generates fees for the DAO. Then another thing is institutional. So as I said, multi-liquidity provider, if you want to become a sole LP, so if you want your own pool, you will need to ask the DAO because it won't be there are some pools which will be permissionless and some pools that will be permissioned. Permission because you will need to basically go to the DAO and say, okay, me, I have, for example, 1 million USDC. I want to become liquidity provider. I want to have, this leverage. I want to earn this amount of fees, this kind of thing. So most likely, it will be either wealthy people or institutional. So the idea is basically to go to contact VCs, funds, family offices, and these kind of things. But also in institutional, I also put DAO, so other DAOs, and tell them, hey, if you have at least 1 million USDC, you can come and provide liquidity on some of our pair. So this is how we will scale the protocol. And of course, the scaling of the protocol will be helped by the new token economics. So the new token economics is basically a change in the way the GRT works. So right now, GRT is a governance token without value, which means that holding the token doesn't bring you any advantage over the protocol. I mean, it could, because you can create a vote and say, hey, I would like if all the money of the protocol, I mean the treasury, is being used to buy back GRT or is being used to basically pay dividends. You can do it, of course, and I don't know what people will vote for that. But the point is, GRT, in its sense, it cannot capture value. It cannot. If the protocol grows, GRT maybe won't grow, and this is a big problem because you have seen the price action of the GRT. Let's be honest, it's not the most visible thing we have seen because there is no point of holding the GRT apart from hope that one day there will be something that will make a GRT an asset, a working asset. So the thing is that you can't do it anytime. You have to do it when it makes sense, when the protocol starts to get more use and so on. And I think now it starts to be the good time in order to change the token economics and to move from a governance token to a more utility token. And by chance, the new version of the protocol have multi-LP system, which means that we can find a use case between GRT and the multi-LP. Also, since then, there are many protocols that have launched new token economics. You have Curve, who have launched a VE model. You have Ellipsis with slashing and this kind of thing. So the idea also, it was to wait and to see a bit how things are happening, to take the best and to remove the worst on what we have seen in order to have something pretty nice. Then also, the GRT distribution was not perfect because GRT is a very old token actually. It's a token that was born in the ICO period in 2018, which means that the distribution is not perfect. Most of the GRT are being held by ICO investors. So it prevents to do fair lunch. It prevents to have big liquidity mining because we don't have a lot of GRT. But it's also a double sword edge. We can't increase the supply of the GRT because we don't want to also dilute people. So we have to find smart ways to be able to have nice liquidity mining, so scalable liquidity mining without diluting people and this kind of thing. So this is why we needed new token economics and most likely new tokens. So there could be a swap between, like when Aave launched Aave token, you swapped ETH lend, the lend token for Aave. So most likely there will be this, most likely there could be a change of name. The thing is that we're going to propose everything to the community and there will be a vote. Maybe the vote will say, no, we keep the same token and the same name. We just change the token economics. Everything is possible, to be honest. The community will decide. I will just present you everything in a timely manner. So this new token economics will help few things. So first, because GRT will become a working asset, then we won't be afraid anymore to do aggressive liquidity mining. It's true that right now we don't do big liquidity mining. I think you can see it. We don't give away a lot of GRT, and we do it using the Aureus token or Denarius token. There is always a way to prevent short-term people, farmer from dumping and long-term believer to keep it. So they can hold it. So right now with the new token economics, it will be okay because we'll be able to give away GRT. Why? Because there will be the need for having GRT if you are a liquidity provider. And for example, when I'm in institution, myself, I would be interested to be actually a liquidity provider here because I know what is it to provide liquidity on Ethereum. I know how much money you can make. I know how to do it, how to protect hedge exposure and so on. So this is one of the things I want to do. And one of the things I have worked on is to set up companies in order to be like a professional, like a fund, and you go there and you can provide liquidity, for example, for Ethereum. So the thing is, I will need GRT. The fund will need GRT in order to provide liquidity, not to provide liquidity, but to make more money. So if someone dumps GRT at some point because we're going to do liquidity mining, it's okay, because there are people who will be interested in buying it back in order to generate more revenue. So this is why it will help with the protocol scalability, because it will allow us to have a big bootstrapping at the beginning by giving maybe more GRT. And then as the time goes, we limit the amount of GRT that is being given by inflation, and it will be replaced by GRT which are bought back by the market, because there will be, of course, buyback in the market from some of the profit done by the multi-LP. to buy back GRT from the market to give it back to the multi-LP, this kind of feedback loop. So that's all for 2022. So if we summarize, first, no ETA, no dates, no timeline, nothing. Just we're gonna work on those different things. So more PLAS program, more integrations. And when I mean integration, it doesn't mean just integration in protocols. It could be integrations in fiat on off ramp. It could be other wallets. It could be even in the real, CeFi world. New token economics, and all of this will lead to protocol scalability, which will lead to more PLAS, which will lead to better pricing appreciation, and so on and so on and so on. So this is what I can say for 2022. I will take now the questions. And if there is any question, of course. Okay, so if there is no questions, thank you for your time, and see you next month. Bye everyone, and again, Happy New Year.